Hey there guys, it's Tom from Dolphin Dive Productions. I'm here with Jason, head lead management of Dead of Day from Trebuchet Games. Jason, thank you so much for coming back again to talk to us.
Thank you.
Just briefly describe your game for us.
Okay, so Dead of Day is an old school zombie dungeon crawler.
That's a mixed match of two different genres. How did you come around deciding to use those two old school sort of mechanics into one game?
Well, I used to love a game called Dungeon Master from about 20 odd years ago. I'm showing my age. I'm not as young as I look. Basically, it's an old dungeon crawler, and I used to really love enjoying it. But it was all fantasy. It was all wizards and warriors, and I really love that concept. But games since then have all been this wizards and warriors.
Yep.
So I thought, I love zombies. Walking Dead's great.
Walking Dead is fantastic. Yeah.
So why not take that concept? Corridors and dungeons work perfectly for zombies. So I basically took that concept and then built on it.
So when you say built on it, obviously you can see from the screenshots we've got up now, it's not all dungeon crawler. There is an element of base survival elements to it as well. Like I'd see resources.
Yep.
So when I had a bit of hands-on experience with it, you had a cabin, you had resources. How does that tie in with the dungeon crawler? I mean, do you go out scavenging for supplies? How does it work?
Yeah, so initially you're on your own in a cabin in America.
Yeah.
The zombie virus has been out there. For you to look after other survivors and to improve your situation, you need resources. And resources will upgrade your base.
Okay.
But the problem is that you need to go out into the world to collect those resources.
Right.
So you will only get resources from going out into the buildings, looking for supplies, and bringing them back to your base.
So is that just you out there? So is it just you scavenging for these supplies for yourself?
Initially it is. And if you die, it's game over.
Oh, wow.
But over time, you will find other survivors, and they will all have their own skills and abilities. The problem is that you can only take 5 survivors with you. You could have many, many more survivors back at the base.
Yep.
And unfortunately, while they're back at your base, they're all eating your food, drinking your drink.
Selfish survivors. Selfish survivors. So you say each one has their own unique abilities. Do you mean like in terms of just characteristics or story, or in terms of how they impact on the game?
Yeah, so some of them have sort of different things that they require from you. Some might want security, some might want better living conditions, but they also have their own skills in combat. So some of them might be better at hand-to-hand, while others are better at using firearms. Now you have to make a decision. Do you take certain characters with you that are good at certain skills, or do you leave them back at your base defending your base?
Oh, so it can be attacked as well. So what you've built up, how you decide to defend it, or maybe use it as like industrialize it, so more food, more materials coming in, that can actually be attacked.
Yeah, so you've got this lovely base that you spent all this time building.
Lots of time building, no me, yeah.
And unfortunately, yes, if you take too long while you're out at base, the zombies can attack it. If you've not cleared enough of the area, or you're too slow, which will then, when you come back to base, you will see what happens.
Yep.
You know, there'll be survivors who have decided to move on because it's too risky. Even though the game is centered around you trying to survive, ultimately you're trying to look after a group and get to the end of the game where you've got this group surviving.
It's always easier in a group in a zombie situation, always easier. So when you say it comes down to combat, you say you've got individual needs and individual influences on the gathering, on the resource side of it. You mentioned combat. So maybe someone can reload a gun quicker, or maybe do more damage with an axe? Is that how it works?
Exactly. So combat is in real time, but the actual attacks themselves are timed. So they have to not reload, but sort of like respawn.
Yeah.
So, for example, a gun will take longer to reload.
But can do more damage.
More damage. While a sword or a knife, may take 2 seconds, but on there's somebody who's got a knife skill, may only take 1 second. Now, obviously, when you've got a lot of zombies, that can have a massive impact on whether you're going to survive or die. If you've taken people who are all newbies, who've got no skills.
Literally wetting themselves at the prospect of zombies,
Exactly.
So how do you navigate around this world? You say you can go into different places, scavenge resources, that's great. But is it just in woodland, or is it just in random cabins you find like your own?
So you have a map, and in this map, at the very start of the game, all buildings are red.
Okay.
Now, what that means is that you haven't been there, you haven't scavenged any equipment. So when you go to a building, depending on the building type, you can either have a small building or a large building. Now a small building, sorry, it's a bit loud.
That's right.
A small building means that you'll go there, it's very quick, you'll attack these zombies, and it's over, you've got the resource. But the resources are very small. Now the large buildings, they're actual corridors that you move around in real time.
So the dungeon crawler aspect.
The dungeon crawler aspect. Now, they take longer to do, they're more risky, there's more zombies, but the great thing is you get more resources from it.
So does it cost your survivors resources to be out in the wild looking for other resources? Does it cost you any food to go looking for more food, for example?
Well, what you can do is you can kind of like go to multiple places in sort of one turn. So the turn involves you can go from building to building, or you can go from a building back to your base.
If you want to play it safe,
if you want, so you can take a small amount of resources back, which might help you for a short while, or you can try and string a load of visits together and go back with a bigger amount. The problem is time is still ticking. And
base can still be attacked.
Base can still be attacked, and people are still eating and drinking your food. So if a zombie is gnawing on the dead carcass of one of your best friends, is that game over? Do you have to then go back to base, or is it just a game over screen? No, so any survivor can die. If they die, I'm trying to make it so that you care about the survivors, that you don't want them to die. But ultimately, it's about you surviving. So if a survivor dies, you can pick up another survivor, hopefully.
So it comes down to, if you had to leave someone behind, it's like, what do you want out of that survivor? Do you want him to have a better fighting skill? Or maybe this guy's better at gathering supplies? You're like, you know what? Good luck, mate.
So over time, what happens is every week or every month, you get a resource bonus, and that bonus depends on the skills of the people and what buildings that you've built at your base. So if you've built a well, you'll have a water bonus, which means you don't need to go out and collect so much water. So there's various different sort of nuances to how you can help your base, how you can help your survivors. Leave those behind that are good at gathering, and take those that are good at fighting. The problem you've got is if they're good at both, or only good at one, and it's kind of this mix.
It's a lovely mix to have. It's a lovely problem to have in a game where you say it sounds a little bit complicated, but once you actually get hands on with it, the UI makes so much sense.
Thank you.
The way you've spaced it out, the way that in different screens, like for example, you're here in a resource gathering game, you're thinking of Fallout, you're thinking, great, I'll be filled up after like 3 tins of tuna. It's not like that at all, is it?
No, it isn't. No, I mean, I've made sure that you've got enough spaces to carry equipment, because in the real world, you know, you can carry a lot of equipment.
Spread out across the Drupa as well.
I mean, for me, it wasn't really about the ability to carry 16 cans of tuna. You know, I didn't want it to be defined by, oh, you're overloaded, go back. I wanted it actually to be the time. The time aspect is the key element, because you have to survive for 2 years. But also, the longer you're out, the more risk there is. So for me, the time element is the key sort of element of danger, not carrying tuna or
fair enough, or
weapons.
Spears or sticks, for example. So when you say survive for 2 years, is that the end game sort of ideal behind it? So as it progresses, do zombies get more and more aggressive, or do more and more events happen? Do random events actually happen at all? Yeah,
so what it is, you've got multiple maps. You start off in a cabin in the woods, where there's very little buildings and places to go and scavenge. So naturally it's trying to push you further and further afield. The problem is that the further you go, the longer it takes to get back. The idea is that at some point you decide it's not worth continuing on the path that you're on, and you move bases. And this other base may give you some advantages and some disadvantages. The idea is that you continue around these different maps collecting resources up until the 2-year point where it's considered that you've done enough to get
build
through.
A stable community and brave it out. Fantastic. So you're on Steam. Be cool. You're on Steam. How has EGX benefited you from last year? So you came with a sort of like almost like an unfinished product, didn't you? You didn't really have much to show.
No.
What did you learn from that in terms of
development?
Development.
I mean, I came with an early build last year to kind of at least get an idea of sort of art style, whether people liked what they were seeing. There was a bit of a focus test as well. I saw people sort of doing things on screen, and I sort of was going, okay, I need to fix that. it was quite interesting. People were clicking on buildings. They were thinking it was a bit, I need to click on a building to see what happens.
Yeah.
So it helped me sort of develop the game further. It was very, very early, unfortunately, in terms of gameplay. So it helped me learn a lot about what people were expecting from the game. A lot of people who saw the game said they loved the concept.
Yeah, I was one of them, definitely.
They loved the idea of going out and getting survival equipment, finding resources, but they also loved the sort of dungeon crawling aspect, because a lot of zombie games are kind of like more of the survival
another zombie
part.
game. You know, that's what I say. On Steam, you said you had a lot of people like, oh, another zombie game. It's like it's for people that enjoy zombie games. Yeah,
I mean, I've loved zombie games for a long time. I mean, I've had a few people go, why are you making a zombie game? There's loads of them around. And it's kind of like, well, I started this game a year and a half ago. There were less zombie games. There's still a lot of zombie games. I actually bought the website for this idea about 2011.
Wow.
So I was working on sort of concepting and ideas. And so, I'm a bit too slow, I guess.
Well, it's a part-time aspect, isn't it? You are like a self-confessed part-time programmer,
indie developer.
How does that must hinder on your progress somewhat, on your progression?
Yeah, I mean, I designed the game. I've got a group of fantastic artists
which are doing it complete justice.
Doing a brilliant job. They're in Indonesia. They've been fantastic. They've been helping me with the art for a long time now. Obviously, I work full time. The problem is, obviously, I'm not a great programmer in terms of speed. I'm quite a slow programmer, so that has hampered development. But as I've done EGX and I've got good feedback back, it's kind of really motivating.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I decided to go Greenlight. Was I wanted to get early feedback.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to get onto Steam ready for early access. So it's been great. It's been fantastic.
And you are a product of what can be proven by passion, drive.
Thank you.
And just doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Ignore what other people. If you've got a game in your mind, guys, and you have the ability to do it. Don't let someone tell you otherwise.
No, I mean, no game is unique.
Yeah.
As I say, part of this game is from a game that's 25 years old.
Exactly.
Anybody could show me a game concept, and I can show them a game that's been made in that style.
But it spawns inspiration, doesn't it?
So as long as the gameplay is interesting and it all connects together well, I think that's most important, that you enjoy the concept. Yeah. I'm not making the game to make millions. I'm making the game because I love the concept, and that's my priority, is to make a game I want to play myself.
That's right. If you want to find out more about Jason's Dead of Day, please use all the links below and on the screen, guys, to show this guy some love. He really deserves it. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and we hope to see it on Steam as soon as we can.
Excellent, thank you.